You've been lied to about success. Hard work alone won't get you there. And if you're struggling right now, there's a reason, one most people never figure out. But today that changes. Life doesn't care about your plans. Things fall apart. People disappoint you. You lose money, time, opportunities. But here's the truth. The biggest barrier isn't the world, it's how you react to it. And if you're willing to listen, there's a way to turn every setback into fuel. The first thing you must accept before your life can change, before you start seeing real progress, before opportunities begin opening up, before you finally get the breakthrough you've been waiting for, there's one critical shift you need to make in your thinking. Most people go their entire lives without ever realizing this is the key. They stay stuck in the same cycles of frustration and disappointment, wondering why nothing ever improves for them while others seem to move forward effortlessly. The truth is, your external circumstances won't change until your internal response does first. And it all starts with this. You have to stop blaming. Completely. Totally. Without exception. Stop blaming bad luck. Stop blaming the economy. Stop blaming your upbringing, your lack of connections, the people who didn't believe in you, the opportunities that never came your way. Stop blaming your boss, your coworkers, your family situation, the school system, the government, or the system in general. Every time you point the finger outward, you're giving away your power. You're telling yourself, this is out of my control. And when you believe that, you're absolutely right. It will remain out of your control. Here's what most people don't understand. Every single person who ever achieved anything meaningful started exactly where you are right now. Or in many cases, they started with far less. They faced the same kinds of obstacles, the same disappointments, the same moments where everything seemed stacked against them. The difference wasn't in their circumstances, it was in how they interpreted those circumstances. The people who break through take full responsibility, not just for their actions, but for their thoughts, for their interpretations, for their emotional responses. They understand that what you believe about your struggles determines whether those struggles break you or build you. Let me explain why this is so powerful. When you blame external factors for your situation, you're essentially telling your brain, there's nothing I can do about this. And your brain, being the efficient machine that it is, will accept that as truth. It will stop looking for solutions. It will stop seeing opportunity. It will filter your entire experience through the lens of this is just how things are, and you'll remain trapped in that reality. But when you take responsibility, when you say this is my situation and I will find a way through it, your brain starts working for you instead of against you. It begins scanning for possibilities instead of dwelling on limitations. It starts recognizing opportunities where before it only saw obstacles. This isn't just motivational fluff, it's how your mind actually works. Your brain is constantly filtering the overwhelming amount of information in your environment, and it prioritizes what aligns with your dominant thoughts. When you focus on blame, your brain shows you more things to blame. When you focus on solutions, your brain starts revealing pathways forward that you never noticed before. Consider two people facing the exact same setback. Maybe they both get laid off from their jobs. The first person says, this economy is terrible. Companies don't care about employees anymore. I'll never find something this good again. This always happens to me. The second person says, okay, this isn't ideal, but what can I learn from this? What skills can I improve while I look for my next opportunity? Who in my network should I reach out to? What's one small step I can take today to move forward? Who do you think will bounce back faster? Who do you think will eventually find themselves in an even better position? The difference isn't in their circumstances. It's in their interpretation of those circumstances. One sees themselves as a victim of forces beyond their control. The other sees themselves as someone who can respond effectively no matter what happens. This is why taking responsibility is so powerful. It's not about beating yourself up or pretending that everything is your fault. It's about recognizing that while you can't always control what happens to you, you can always control how you respond, and your response is what ultimately determines your results. Let me give you another example. Imagine two aspiring entrepreneurs. The first one says, I can't succeed because I don't have enough capital. The market is too saturated. Big companies have all the advantages. No one will take a chance on someone new. The second one says, my resources are limited right now, so I need to be scrappy. The competition proves there's demand. Big companies move slowly. I can be more nimble. I'll start small, prove my value and grow from there. Same circumstances. Completely different outcomes waiting to happen. This principle applies to every area of life. Relationships. They never listen to me versus how can I communicate more effectively. Health. I don't have time to exercise versus what's one small change I can make today. Finances. Money is tight right now versus where can I create more value. The pattern is always the same. Blame keeps you stuck. Responsibility sets you free. Now, this doesn't mean you should ignore real obstacles or pretend that challenges don't exist. It means you stop seeing those obstacles as permanent roadblocks and start seeing them as temporary hurdles or even as opportunities to grow stronger and more capable. Here's how to put this into practice starting today. When you catch yourself blaming or complaining, pause. That's your signal that you're giving away your power. Ask yourself, what's one thing within my control right now? There's always something, even if it's small. Take action on that one thing immediately. Action breaks the cycle of blame and builds momentum. Repeat this process every time you feel stuck or frustrated. It gets easier with practice. Remember, the goal isn't to pretend everything is perfect. The goal is to recognize that you always have some degree of choice in how you respond, and that response is what shapes your future far more than your circumstances ever could. This is the foundation everything else is built upon. Master this, and you'll be amazed at how many impossible situations suddenly become workable. How many bad breaks turn out to be hidden opportunities. How much more control you actually have over the direction of your life than you ever realize. Because when you stop blaming, you start growing. When you take responsibility, you take back your power. And that's when real change begins. The mindset that changes everything. Life doesn't play favorites. Hard times come for everyone. No exception. But here's what separates those who crumble from those who rise stronger. The single question they ask themselves when everything goes wrong. Some people look at their struggles and ask, why me? Others look at those exact same struggles and ask, what's this teaching me? That tiny shift in perspective changes everything. It's the difference between staying trapped in your circumstances and finding a way through them, between seeing yourself as a victim of life and becoming a student of it. The why me mindset is a dead end. It keeps you circling the same problems, feeding the same frustrations, hitting the same walls. Because when you're focused on why something is happening to you, you're not looking for how to move through it. You're not searching for the lesson, the opportunity, the hidden strength this challenge might be forcing you to develop. You're just stuck in the unfairness of it all. But the what's this teaching me mindset, that's where the magic happens. That's where ordinary people transform into the kind of people who can handle extraordinary challenges. Because they're not wasting energy resisting reality, they're too busy learning from it. Think about the last time you faced something difficult. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe a relationship fell apart. Maybe a project failed. In that moment, you had a choice, conscious or not, about which question you would ask. And that choice determined what happened next. The people who ask why me stay in that moment of loss. They relive the pain. They tell the story over and over about how unfair it was, how they didn't deserve it, how everything was going fine until this happened. And in doing so, they give that event permanent power over them. But the people who ask, what's this teaching me, do something radically different. They start looking for patterns, for weak spots they didn't know they had, for new skills they need to develop, for better ways of doing things. They treat the struggle like feedback, not like failure. Here's the truth most people miss. Problems aren't interruptions to your success. They're part of the curriculum. Every challenge is testing something in you. Your patience, your creativity, your resilience, your ability to adapt. And if you keep failing the test, life will keep giving it to you in different forms, through different circumstances, until you finally learn what you need to learn. That's why some people seem to face the same problems over and over. They're not unlucky. They're just not learning. They keep responding the same way, so life keeps presenting the same lesson. But the people who grow, they're the ones who pay attention. They notice when a particular challenge keeps showing up. They get curious about what it might be trying to show them, and they adjust accordingly. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about productive thinking. Positive thinking says everything happens for a reason and leaves it at that. Productive thinking says if there's a reason, I'm going to find it and use it. It's active, not passive. It assumes you have agency, even in situations where you feel powerless. Take two people who go through a financial crisis. The first one says, "Why does this always happen to me? The system is rigged. I'll never get ahead." The second one says, "What is this teaching me about how I've been managing money? What skills do I need to develop to prevent this in the future? What opportunities might this pressure force me to see?" Same situation, completely different trajectory. The first person stays stuck in the story of their misfortune. The second person starts building new skills, new awareness, new strategies, the kind that lead to lasting change. This applies to every area of life. In relationships, why does no one appreciate me? What is this showing me about how I communicate my needs? In health, why is it so hard for me to lose weight? Versus what is this teaching me about my habits and triggers? In career, why don't I ever get the recognition I deserve? Versus what skills do I need to make my contributions undeniable? The pattern is always the same. The why me approach keeps you circling the problem. The what's this teaching me approach moves you through it. Here's how to put this into practice starting today. When something goes wrong, pause before reacting. That space between what happens and how you respond is where your power lives. Ask yourself, if this challenge were here to teach me something, what might that be? Don't rush the answer. Sit with the question. Look for patterns. If similar problems keep appearing in different areas of your life, pay attention. That's where your biggest lessons are waiting. Take one small action based on what you discover. Learning without application is just theory. The most successful people aren't the ones who avoid problems. They're the ones who've learned how to use problems as fuel. Every setback becomes data. Every failure becomes feedback. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to develop a new skill or strengthen an existing one. That's the mindset that changes everything. Not because it makes challenges disappear, but because it transforms how you move through them. And that makes all the difference. Because in the end, it's not about what happens to you, it's about what happens in you as a result. The why approach leaves you diminished. The what's this teaching me approach leaves you stronger, wiser, and better prepared for whatever comes next. And isn't that what we all want? Not just to survive our challenges, but to grow through them. That choice is always yours. In every moment, with every challenge. The question is, which question will you ask? The hidden reason you're stuck. You tell yourself you want it. You swear it's all you think about day and night. You've written it down, visualized it, even taken a few steps toward it. But here you are, still stuck, still waiting, still telling yourself soon, soon, soon. Why? The surface reasons are easy to name. You blame time, circumstances, luck, or other people. You say you don't have the resources, the energy, the right opportunities, but those are just excuses, and somewhere inside, you know it. The real reason you're stuck isn't outside of you. It's buried deep in your mind, hidden beneath layers of doubt, fear, and a truth you've been avoiding. You're afraid of what happens if you actually succeed. Most people understand fear of failure. It's obvious. The shame of falling short, the embarrassment of not measuring up. That's a familiar ghost. But fear of success, that's the silent killer. Because success isn't just applause and rewards. It's change. It's responsibility. It's the death of every excuse you've ever used to stay small. Think about it. If you finally get what you say you want, what then? Everything changes. The people around you might not understand the new version of you. Some will resent you. Others will expect more from you. Success doesn't just lift you. It isolates you. It forces you to stand alone, to own your decisions, to carry the weight of your own potential. And that's terrifying. Then there's responsibility. Right now, you can hide behind the story of not yet. I could if I really tried. I would if things were different. But success strips that away. It proves you were always capable. It forces you to admit that the only thing holding you back was you. And if you can do this, what else can you do? How high can you climb? The pressure of that realization is enough to make most people retreat. But the deepest fear, the one that keeps you paralyzed, success means no more excuses, no more blaming the world for where you are, no more hiding behind someday. Once you cross that line, there's no going back to the comfort of almost. You'll have to face the fact that you were always in control, that you could have done this sooner, And that's a hard truth to swallow. So instead, you hesitate, you delay, you find reasons to stay where you are because the unknown on the other side of success scares you more than the familiar pain of where you are now. But here's what you must understand. This fear isn't a sign to stop. It's proof you're close. The resistance you feel isn't a wall, it's a doorway. The part of you that's afraid is the same part that knows you're capable. Otherwise, why would you be so scared? The way forward isn't to wait until the fear disappears. It won't. The way forward is to move despite it, to recognize that every step you take is a choice between the safety of stagnation and the uncertainty of growth. Ask yourself, what's the cost of staying stuck? What dreams will you bury? What potential will you waste? The pain of regret is far worse than the discomfort of success. So make the decision, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, now, because the truth is you'll never feel ready. Success isn't for the fearless. It's for those who refuse to let fear decide their fate. The only thing standing between you and what you want is the story you keep telling yourself about why you can't have it. Tear that story down. Step into the unknown and realize too late for fear to stop you that you were always stronger than you believe. The 10-second rule for instant resilience. Life has a way of knocking you down when you least expect it. One moment, everything is moving smoothly. Your plans are in place, your confidence is high, and the next, the ground seems to crumble beneath you. A deal falls through. A mistake embarrasses you in front of others. A rejection stings deeper than you thought it would. In that instant, it feels like the world is collapsing. Your pulse quickens, your thoughts spiral, and the weight of the moment presses down on you like a physical force. But here's the truth. Most of what feels like a disaster in the moment isn't. Most of what sends your mind into panic won't even be a memory in 5 years. The question is, will you let a temporary setback dictate your state of mind? Or will you step back, take a breath, and regain control before it sweeps you away? That's where the 10-second rule comes in. When the pressure is at its peak, when frustration or fear threatens to overwhelm you, pause. Just 10 seconds. Not an hour, not even a minute. 10 seconds of stillness, of stepping outside the storm in your mind to ask one simple question. Will this matter in 5 years? Most of the time, the answer is no. That email you sent with the typo, the awkward comment you made in the meeting, the project that didn't go as planned. In the grand scheme of things, they're blips, tiny, insignificant moments in a life that is far bigger than any single failure. But here's what does matter. How you respond. Because while the event itself may fade, the way you handle it shapes who you become. Most people never learn this. They react in the heat of the moment, letting emotion dictate their next move. They dwell, they overthink, they lash out or shut down. And in doing so, they give power to things that don't deserve it. But the ones who rise above, the ones who seem unshakable no matter what happens, they've mastered one skill, the ability to step back before stepping forward. Think about the last time something went wrong, really wrong. How much of your suffering came from the event itself, and how much came from the story you told yourself about it? The mind loves to amplify pain, to replay mistakes on a loop, to convince you that this one moment defines you. But it doesn't, unless you let it. The 10-second rule isn't about dismissing your emotions. It's about refusing to let them hijack your judgment. It's about recognizing that between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a space, a tiny critical space where your power lies. And in that space, you decide whether this moment controls you or whether you control it. Some of the greatest minds in history, leaders, inventors, artists, faced far worse than you ever will. They endured public failures, humiliations, losses that would break most people, but they didn't stay broken. They didn't let temporary setbacks become permanent defeats. Why? Because they understood that resilience isn't about avoiding pain. It's about moving through it without letting it define you. So the next time you feel the tide of frustration rising, the next time your heart races with the sting of a mistake or the weight of a problem, stop. 10 seconds. Breathe. Ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? If the answer is no, and it usually is, let it go. Release the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest. Smile, even if you don't feel like it, because you've just reminded yourself that this moment is fleeting, but your strength is not. And if the answer is yes, if this truly is something that will shape your future, then face it with clarity, not panic. Meet it with a mind that's calm, a will that's steady, and the unshakable knowledge that you've survived every bad day up until now. Life will always test you. But you don't have to let a momentary storm convince you it's the end of the world. 10 seconds. That's all it takes to remember who you are and to choose once again to keep moving forward. 5. How to turn fear into fuel. Fear is the great paralyzer. It creeps into your mind like a shadow, whispering doubts, magnifying risks, convincing you that the safe choice is the only choice. You feel it in your gut before a big decision, that tightening, that hesitation. You hear it in your thoughts when you consider stepping outside your comfort zone. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I'm not good enough? But what if fear isn't the enemy? What if it's not something to run from, but something to harness? Think of the greatest achievements in human history. The bold ventures, the impossible breakthroughs, the moments where someone stood against the odds and changed everything. None of them happened in the absence of fear. They happened because of it. Because the people behind them understood a fundamental truth. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal, a flashing light in your mind that says, this matters. When you feel fear, it means you're on the edge of something meaningful. It means you're about to step into territory that could change you, that could push you forward in ways you haven't been pushed before. The trick isn't to silence the fear, it's to listen to what it's telling you, then use it as fuel. The next time your heart races before a big moment, don't retreat. Pause. Recognize what's happening. Say to yourself, I'm afraid because this is important. That's why I feel this way, and then instead of letting the fear freeze you, let it focus you. Ask what's the first small step, because action is fear's greatest antidote. The moment you move, even an inch, the paralysis begins to break. The mountain in front of you shrinks back down to size. You realize that fear wasn't a wall, it was a doorway. Every great artist, entrepreneur, athlete, or leader has faced this same battle. The difference between those who let fear stop them and those who let it propel them comes down to one thing: perspective. The first group sees fear as a warning to turn back. The second sees it as proof they're heading in the right direction. So the choice is yours. Will you let fear be the thing that holds you down or the force that launches you forward? Remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision that what you're moving toward is more important than what you're afraid of. 6. The secret of every comeback story. We love comeback stories. The underdog who rises from nothing. The fallen hero who redeems themselves. The entrepreneur who loses everything only to build something greater. We cheer for these moments because they remind us that no failure has to be final. But what we don't see, what no one talks about, are the nights that came before the comeback. The moments when the person behind the story was alone in the dark, wondering if it was over. The times they were broke, humiliated, or so exhausted they almost quit. Because here's the truth about every great resurgence. The lowest point isn't the end, it's the turning point. When you hit bottom, you have two choices. You can stay down, convinced that the world has beaten you, that you've reached your limit. Or you can push up harder than ever before, with a clarity and hunger that only rock bottom can give you. The people who make comebacks aren't special. They aren't immune to pain or doubt. They simply made a decision in their darkest hour. This isn't how my story ends. Think about the times in your own life when you faced a setback. Maybe it was a rejection, a financial blow, a personal failure. In that moment, it felt like the world was closing in. But looking back, didn't that moment teach you something? Didn't it force you to dig deeper than you knew you could? That's the secret. The bottom isn't a pit, it's a foundation. It's the solid ground you finally hit after free falling. The place where you realize you have nothing left to lose and everything to gain. And from that place, real strength is born. So if you're in that place now, if you're wondering how much longer you can keep going, remember this: you're closer than you think. The darkest hour is just before dawn, and the comeback is always sweeter than the setback. All you have to do is refuse to stay down. 7. Why most people give up too soon. There is a moment, a critical, decisive moment, that comes right before every great victory. It is the moment when the mind begins to waver, when fatigue sets in, when the voice of doubt grows louder than the voice of determination. It is the moment when most people turn back. You have felt this moment before. You have stood at the edge of it, staring into the darkness, wondering if it is worth pushing forward. The project that seems impossible to complete, the goal that feels just out of reach, the dream that has taken longer than you ever imagined. You tell yourself, maybe this isn't meant to be, maybe I should quit. But here is the truth you must burn into your mind. The darkest hour is right before the breakthrough. History is filled with stories of those who quit too soon. The inventor who walked away one experiment shy of discovery. The writer who shelved their manuscript just before it could find a publisher. The entrepreneur who closed their doors months before the market turned in their favor. These are the tragedies of near success, the heartbreaks of almost, and they happen for one reason. The mind cannot see around the corner. When you are deep in the struggle, when every step forward feels like wading through mud, you have no way of knowing how close you are. The finish line is invisible. The reward seems like a mirage, and so exhausted, you stop. You tell yourself you gave it your all, but the cruel irony is this. Most people quit at 9. They surrender when they are inches away from the very thing they fought for. Think of a miner digging for gold. He swings his pickaxe day after day, chipping away at the rock, seeing nothing but stone. His hands blister, his back aches, his hope fades, and then one evening, he drops his tools and walks away unaware that a single swing the next morning would have struck the vein. This is how the human mind works. It measures progress by what is visible. When the results aren't immediate, it assumes they will never come. But success does not operate on your timeline. It does not care about your impatience. It reveals itself only to those who refuse to stop digging. So how do you keep going when everything in you screams to quit? You must redefine what it means to endure. Endurance is not about waiting for the breakthrough. It is about trusting that it exists even when you cannot see it. It is about understanding that the pain you feel right now is not a sign of failure, but a signal that you are close. The resistance is greatest just before the walls give way. The next time you are on the verge of giving up, ask yourself, what if I am one step away? What if the next phone call, the next attempt, the next day is the one that changes everything? Would you still walk away? Remember this. The moment you feel like breaking is the moment things are about to change. Hold on. Push forward. The world rewards those who outlast their doubts. The daily habit that builds unshakable strength. Greatness is not born in a single moment. It is not the result of one heroic effort, one stroke of luck, or one night of inspiration. Greatness is built in the quiet, consistent daily acts that most people overlook. And there is one habit, simple, almost deceptively so, that separates those who rise from those who remain stagnant. It is this: every morning, before the world demands your time, before distractions creep in, you must ask yourself one question. What is the one thing I can do today to move forward? Not 10 things, not an overwhelming list that leaves you paralyzed. 1. Why? Because small wins compound. A 1% improvement every day means you are 37 times better by the end of the year, but you have to start today. Most people never experience this kind of growth because they are too busy chasing grand, sweeping changes. They want overnight transformations. They want the big, flashy victory. And when those don't come, they lose momentum. They convince themselves that progress is out of reach. But the ones who achieve lasting success understand the power of the daily deposit. They know that a single step, repeated consistently, will take them farther than any sprint. Think of a river carving through rock. It does not rush. It does not force. It simply flows, day after day, until the hardest stone yields to its persistence. This is how you must approach your goals. Not with bursts of effort, but with steady, unrelenting action. So how do you make this work? Each morning, before your mind is cluttered with the noise of the day, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, what is the one thing I can do today to move forward? It might be a phone call you've been avoiding, a chapter you need to write, a skill you need to practice. Whatever it is, identify it and make it non-negotiable. Then do it first, before emails, before social media, before the urgent but unimportant tasks that suck away your focus. Give that one thing your full attention, and when it is done, no matter what else happens that day, you have won. This is how unshakable strength is built, not through dramatic gestures, but through the quiet discipline of daily progress. The person who commits to this practice does not just achieve their goals, they transform themselves in the process. Because here is the secret. Success is not an event, it is a habit. And the habit starts with a single question every morning. What's yours? 9. The truth about luck. You've seen it happen. Someone achieves extraordinary success, and the world calls them lucky. They land the big contract, meet the perfect mentor, stumble upon the right idea at the right time. From the outside, it looks like chance, like fortune smiled upon them while passing others by. But dig deeper and you'll find the truth. Luck is not random. It is preparation meeting opportunity. The difference between those who seem to attract good fortune and those who don't isn't magic. It's movement. The so-called lucky ones are always working, always learning, always putting themselves in the path of possibility. They don't wait for luck, they create it. Think of luck like a thunderstorm. For the person who never steps outside, the lightning is nothing but a distant spectacle. But for the one holding a lightning rod, poised and ready, that same force becomes power. The storm didn't favor them, they positioned themselves to harness it. This is how opportunity works. The more you work, the more you increase your surface area for luck to strike. The writer who publishes consistently doesn't just get lucky with a viral piece, they've written 100 others first. The entrepreneur who lands the game-changing investor didn't stumble upon them. They've pitched relentlessly, refining their approach each time. The world is full of chances, but most go unnoticed because the majority of people aren't looking. Or worse, they're looking, but they haven't done the work to seize the opportunity when it appears. A closed door means nothing to the person with no key. So how do you become someone who creates their own luck? First, master your craft. Luck favors the skilled. The hours you spend honing your abilities are the foundation upon which opportunity can land. Second, show up relentlessly. The more at-bats you take, the higher your odds of hitting the ball. Third, stay alert. Luck often whispers before it shouts. It's the unexpected conversation, the overlooked detail, the small opening that grows into something bigger. But most importantly, refuse to wait. The greatest tragedy isn't missing out on luck, it's arriving unprepared when it comes. Stop watching others and wondering why fortune favors them. Start building, creating, and putting yourself in the game. The harder you work, the luckier you'll become. 10. How to silence doubt, including your own. There is a voice inside you, one you know well. It speaks up when you're on the edge of something important. You're not ready. You're not good enough. What if you fail? It's the voice of doubt, and it's relentless. But here's what you must understand. That voice isn't there to stop you. It's there to test you. Doubt is not your enemy. It's a checkpoint. Every great endeavor comes with uncertainty, and the mind's instinct is to retreat to safety. But the difference between those who achieve their goals and those who don't isn't the absence of doubt. It's the refusal to let it dictate their action. The only way to silence doubt is to answer it with action, not with arguments, not with positive thinking, but with proof. Every small step forward is evidence against the voice that says you can't do it. Every tiny win chips away at its power. Think of doubt like a bully. It thrives on hesitation. The longer you stand frozen, the louder it grows. But the moment you move, the moment you take that first step despite the fear, its grip weakens. It doesn't disappear overnight, but over time, as you accumulate proof of your own capability, its voice grows quieter. This is why discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation fades, doubt returns. But discipline, the daily decision to act regardless of how you feel, builds a track record of success that doubt can't ignore. So the next time that voice whispers, you can't. Don't argue with it. Don't waste energy trying to convince yourself you're capable. Prove it. Take the smallest possible action. Write one paragraph. Make one call. Do one rep. Action is doubt's kryptonite. And remember, doubt is not unique to you. Every person who has ever achieved anything meaningful has faced it. The ones who succeed aren't the ones without fear. They're the ones who refuse to let it have the final say. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be unstoppable. They picture it as brute force, like a bull charging relentlessly at the same red flag. They imagine success comes to those who simply outlast everyone else through sheer stubbornness. But that's only half the story. True persistence isn't mindless repetition. It's intelligent adaptation. Consider the bamboo plant. For years, it shows no visible growth above ground. An impatient observer might assume nothing is happening, but underground an extensive root system develops. Then, when conditions are right, it shoots up 90 feet in just weeks. This isn't persistence through force, but through strategic patience and adaptation to circumstances. The world's most successful people understand this principle instinctively. When Thomas Edison's laboratory burned down, destroying years of work, he didn't stubbornly rebuild exactly what was lost. He saw it as an opportunity to improve his designs. "All our mistakes are burned up," he famously said. "Now we can start fresh." This is the essence of real persistence. The willingness to change methods while never abandoning the ultimate goal. It's recognizing when to push forward and when to pivot, when to stand firm and when to flow like water around obstacles. The difference between those who achieve their dreams and those who don't often comes down to this flexibility of approach. Both groups face setbacks. Both encounter closed doors. But where the unsuccessful see finality, the persistent see alternative routes. Where one person sees a brick wall, another sees a climbing challenge. Think of how water persists. It never attacks obstacles head-on. When blocked by a rock, it flows around. When facing a mountain, it carves through over time. When trapped, it evaporates and reforms elsewhere. Yet it always moves toward its goal, the sea. This is persistence in its purest form. In your own life, when you encounter resistance, ask yourself, is this a signal to push harder, or to try a different approach? Often the most persistent thing you can do is step back, reassess, and find a new angle. The goal remains constant. The path to get there must remain flexible. Remember, persistence without adaptability is just stubbornness. The world rewards those who combine unwavering commitment to their vision with the creativity to find new ways forward when old ones fail. 12. The one question that solves everything. Overwhelm paralyzes more dreams than failure ever could. It's that frozen feeling when you stare at a mountain of tasks and don't know where to begin. When every option seems equally important and equally impossible. When the sheer scale of what lies ahead makes even starting seem pointless. There's a simple antidote to this paralysis. It's not a complex strategy or motivational trick. It's a single question: what's the next right move? Not the perfect move, not the complete solution, not the grand master plan that solves everything at once, just the next step. The single action you can take right now that moves you forward, however slightly. This question cuts through the noise of overwhelm like a scalpel. It bypasses the tangled web of what ifs and but hows that keep you stuck. It reduces an impossible challenge to a manageable action. Consider how we eat an elephant, one bite at a time. The metaphor may be cliché, but the principle is profound. No one becomes successful in one giant leap. They do it through thousands of small, consistent steps, each one seemingly insignificant on its own, but collectively transformative. When you're lost in the woods, survival experts don't tell you to find the entire way out immediately. They advise you to pick a landmark you can see, walk to it, then reassess. This is how you navigate any overwhelming challenge, by breaking the journey into visible segments. Action creates clarity far more effectively than thought alone. You can't think your way out of paralysis. You have to act your way out. Each small step reveals the next one. Momentum builds not from perfect planning, but from continuous movement. The most successful people aren't those who never feel overwhelmed. They're the ones who've learned to move forward despite it. They understand that you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. That perfect plans are illusion. That progress comes from doing the next right thing, then the next, then the next. So when you find yourself frozen by the scale of your ambitions, when doubt whispers that you'll never make it, ask yourself this simple question: what's the next right move? Then do that, and watch as the path forward reveals itself one step at a time. 13. Why your struggles are an advantage. There is a truth so powerful that if you embrace it, it will change everything about how you see your challenges. The struggles you face today are preparing you for what comes next. Every obstacle, every setback, every moment of frustration is not happening to you. It is happening for you. It is shaping you, strengthening you, equipping you with the resilience and wisdom you will need for the future. Think of a blacksmith forging a blade. The steel does not become strong by lying untouched on a shelf. It is hammered, heated, and plunged into cold water. Repeatedly, each blow, each extreme of temperature, is what transforms it from something ordinary into something unbreakable. You are no different. The person who never struggles, never grows. The path without resistance is the path without progress. Comfort is the enemy of greatness because it requires no adaptation, no stretching beyond what you already know. But struggle. Struggle forces you to evolve. It pushes you past your limits, teaches you lessons you couldn't learn any other way, and reveals strengths you didn't know you had. Consider the most successful people you admire. Their stories are not marked by smooth sailing. They are filled with failures, rejections, and moments of near defeat. But here's what separates them from those who give up. They understood that their struggles were not the end of the story. They were the foundation of it. When you face difficulties, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Is it patience, resilience, creativity, discipline, the ability to adapt? Every challenge carries a lesson, and that lesson is exactly what you will need for the next level of your journey. The setbacks you face now are not roadblocks, they are training. The frustrations you endure are not punishments, they are preparation. The person you become by overcoming them is the person who will eventually succeed. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, remind yourself, this is making me stronger. Because it is. Every struggle you endure, every obstacle you overcome, is another layer of armor, another tool in your arsenal. And one day when you look back, you will realize that what you once saw as hardship was actually the making of you. The quickest way to regain control. Control is an illusion until you realize where it truly lies. Most people spend their lives chasing it in all the wrong places, exhausting themselves trying to manipulate circumstances, other people, or outcomes that were never theirs to command. And when they fail, because they always do, they feel powerless, defeated, as if the world itself is conspiring against them. But the truth is far simpler, far more liberating. Control was never about the external. It was always about the internal. The quickest way to regain control is not to seize the world in your grip, but to master the things that have always been within your grasp. Right now, in this very moment, no matter how chaotic, how uncertain, how overwhelming life may seem, there are three things you can control. The first is your effort. Not the results, not the rewards, not the recognition, but the raw, unfiltered energy you choose to pour into your action. You cannot guarantee success, but you can guarantee that you will show up, that you will push forward, that you will refuse to half-step when full strides are demanded. Effort is the one currency no one can devalue, no one can steal, no one can diminish unless you allow it. When everything else is stripped away, effort remains. And if you control nothing else, control that. The second is your attitude. Life does not deliver circumstances to you neutrally. It delivers them, and you decide what they mean. The same event can destroy one person and forge another, not because the event was different, but because the minds that encountered it were. Your attitude is the lens through which you interpret the world, and that lens is yours to adjust. You can choose resentment or resilience, bitterness or boldness, victimhood or victory. The choice is always yours. No force on earth can compel you to adopt a mindset you refuse to entertain. And in that refusal lies an extraordinary power, the power to dictate not what happens to you, but what happens within you. The third is your next move. You cannot undo the past. You cannot fast forward to the future, but you can decide, here and now, what step you will take next. One deliberate action, one intentional decision, one focused movement. That is all you need to regain momentum. Too many people remain paralyzed, obsessing over grand plans or past mistakes, when the only thing that ever mattered was the next right thing, not the entire journey, not the final destination, just the next step, and then the one after that. Control is not about mapping the entire path, it is about choosing the direction and then walking. Let go of the rest. Let go of the obsession with outcomes, with other people's opinions, with the uncontrollable variables that only drain your energy without returning any power. Control isn't about domination, it's about focus. It's not about rigidity, it's about fluidity. The strongest people in the world are not those who try to command the wind, but those who adjust their sails. They understand that true power lies not in resisting what they cannot change, but in maximizing what they can. So ask yourself now, where is your effort going? Is it being wasted on things that don't serve you? Or is it being invested where it matters? What is your attitude shaping in your life, limitations or possibilities? And what is your next move? Because that is all you ever need to think about. That is where your control lives. That is where your power begins. The final truth you need to hear: this will not be the last time life knocks you down. Let that sink in. This moment of struggle, this season of hardship, this battle you are fighting, it is not the final one. There will be more. That is not pessimism, it is reality. Life does not promise smooth roads, only stronger travelers. But here is what changes. You do. Every time you rise faster. Every time you endure wise. Every time you overcome with greater certainty that you are not defined by the fall, but by the getting back up. One day you will look back and realize something profound. The hard times were not obstacles to your success. They were the making of it. They were the forge in which your strength was tempered. The fire that burned away what was weak and left only what was unbreakable. The person you are becoming is not in spite of the struggles, but because of them. The resilience you are building, the wisdom you are earning, the courage you are cultivating, these are not gifts given in comfort. They are prizes won in battle. Think of the greatest people you admire, the ones who have left their mark on the world. Do you know their story? Not the polished versions, not the mythologized triumphs, but the raw, unfiltered truth. They fell, they failed, they were doubted, dismissed, defeated, sometimes over and over again. But they did not stay down. They learned, they adapted, they grew. And when the next challenge came, they met it not with the same fear as before, but with the hard-won knowledge that they had survived worse. That is what is happening to you now. You are being prepared. You are being tested, not because life is cruel, but because you are capable of more than you yet know. The struggles you face today are the training ground for the victories you will claim tomorrow. Each time you rise, you prove to yourself that you are not as fragile as you once believed. Each time you push forward, you reinforce the truth that you are not a prisoner of circumstance, but a master of response. One day you will tell your story, not with bitterness, not with regret, but with a quiet understanding that every setback, every disappointment, every moment of pain was a necessary stitch in the tapestry of your life. Without them, the picture would be incomplete. Without them, you would be incomplete. The version of you that emerges on the other side of hardship is a version that could not have existed without it. So the next time life knocks you down, and it will, remember this: it is not the end. It is another chance to rise stronger, another chance to learn more deep, another chance to prove to yourself that you are not defined by what happens to you, but by what you do with it. The hard times are not your enemy, they are your teachers, and one day you will thank them. Until then, keep getting up, keep moving forward, keep trusting the process. The best is yet to come. Life isn't about avoiding storms, it's about learning to sail. The struggles you're facing, they're not roadblocks, they're the train. And if you keep going, one step, one day, one small win at a time, you'll look back and realize you didn't just survive the hard times, you became someone who could handle them.